Hi, and welcome to Deep Talk. My name is Lupe Govea, and today I am interviewing Dr. Patty Torres Molina, who is a dentist. She is an alumna of University of the Pacific, as well as Fresno State in Fresno. Thank you so much, Dr. Torres Molina, for joining me today. Today we will be talking about your story. So we're going to get started with the first question. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
I grew up a very traditional Mexican family. My parents are both immigrants from Mexico, from Michoacan. I was born here in the United States. I was born in Porterville, California, which is a very small town in the Central Valley, predominantly Hispanic. Was born, raised there, didn't move out until 18, traveled very little outside of that town. My parents were always working as far as I can remember on the weekends, and we actually I have an elder brother and a younger sister, and they used to take all three of us during the summer. They would take all us to the field, so I'm very familiar with hard labor, and I know from a very young age that was kind of our driving force. If we didn't want to be doing what our parents were doing, then it was something that we had to put study hard and get through school so that we could do something beyond that. And in their case, I mean, that was kind of the way of my parents' races. In that case, it was actually very effective. All three of us have our doctorate in some sort of profession. So I know it's definitely something to say about the way they raised us. When I went to Fresno State, that was my first time actually even being outside of Porterville for a long term. And I know, maybe a lot of people can relate to the fact that females, especially coming from very traditional Mexican families, aren't normally allowed to go to college, especially live out of the home unless you're married. So that was kind of frowned upon from most of our extended family. My parents at the time were pretty accepting of it simply because my brother kind of paved the way for us, being able to go to college. And then so I did my undergrad at Fresno State, which was close to home, and pretty much came home every weekend, simply because my parents wanted to know what I was doing. Going to the big city, San Francisco was where dentistry kind of took over from there.
I can pretty much relate to everything that you just said. So. Tell us about your path to college and professional school. I mean, I know it sounds like your parents really, supported you in that sense, but tell us about just college and how you decided to pursue, your professional degree as well.
Well, my path to college itself, it was kind of, I think in my case growing up, it helped having an older brother that definitely liked school and wanted to do well in school. And in our case, it was never, my mom especially, both my mom and dad, expected us to get A's. So for us, it was never really an option of, you can have a B here, you can have a C. So for us, it was always like A. And if we didn't bring an A home, it was like, what's going on? Because it was, something that they knew we were capable of achieving. Even like school attendance, I had like perfect attendance. Like 6th, 7th grade, I don't even remember. I know when I'd get sick, I definitely wouldn't want to stay home because it was instilled in me at such a young age to be an overachiever that was just the way it was in our household. So when I got to middle school and then high school, it was already something I knew I wanted to go to college. Unfortunately, kind of where I grew up, it wasn't really expected, and the stereotype was definitely not a Latina woman going to college. It was, I grew up in a county where I think we're ranked in terms of teenage pregnancy. As far as I know, most of my elementary school class, most of the girls were moms at a very young age. So it was definitely like, well, you can dream big, but very likely, you probably won't get there. I know there was support from a lot of my teachers, and there was also definitely some negativity that was shined upon that. When I was in high school, I even remember this particular thing, and that's kind of how it opened my eyes to how hard it is and what people kind of expected of me. So in my high school, I was actually ranked number 1. How they have awards assembly and everything and all of that. I remember one of my Spanish teacher, who was one of my biggest supporter, told me, at the time when people were getting nominated for awards, your name didn't come up. It was like all the other people. And I was like, wait a minute, she's ranked first in our class. Like, why wouldn't she? And it was just like, oh, that's right, she is. So it was really strange. Wow. And I think it was mostly because people knew from the past, like, you know, most Latino women wouldn't get to go to college. So like, why should she get scholarship? Why should she? So in a way, it was definitely like, well, I'm going to prove to you that I am going to do something with what, you know, the awards and scholarships and everything that I was given. So I think for me, I've always grown up kind of naive and not wanting to see the perspective of people like around me. And I think once I finally saw it, it only made me stronger and only wanted to be able to move past that and definitely change the stereotype. So I went to Fresno State and actually got a full ride scholarship to Fresno State, and that was mostly the reason I went there. Now I can't see myself having gone anywhere else. I mean, I applied to 8 schools, all of them I got into. My choice, my first choice was UC Berkeley, and the way my parents told me about it, I mean, my parents are not rich by any means, so it was like, well, you know, wherever you decide to go, you're gonna have to pay for that with student loans, or you have this awesome opportunity to go to college for free, and it was dorms and everything was paid for, and it was part of the honors college. So it was actually my brother at the time who was like, you know what, if you want to do anything beyond college, like undergrad, which I'm sure you do, you're gonna regret having to pay for undergrad. And because he was in dental school at the time, so I had no idea I wanted to do dentistry at that point. I was kind of like, I was always really good at math and science. So it was either going to be engineering, architecture, and then medical school is actually what I was thinking about at the time. You know, I was like, you know what, that sounds right. I'm not going to want to just stop here. So I took this scholarship, which I to this day, I'm so glad I did. It's the best decision I think I could have made, especially considering the debt I have now from going to Fresno State, I was running in track and cross country because that was something I was really passionate about. So I was a student athlete at Fresno State, and I was also doing all the honor courses. And I think it didn't come till about probably my end of my sophomore, beginning of my junior year, when I was really wanting to look into dentistry beforehand. Like I said, I looked into medical school and I looked into optometry, both of which I think are awesome and very, you know, very respected careers. But it was actually my pediatrician. I still went there when I was 19. But it was her that she asked me, and she kind of knew a little bit of my story, what I wanted to do. And I told her, like, you know, I really like working with kids, and I really admire what you do. And she's like, don't be a pediatrician. I'm sure you want to have your own kids. It's very busy, and your lifestyle is just not ideal. She's like, I think if I would have had it another way, I would have been a dentist. So when pediatrician told me that, I think she was just being really honest, and I think she was really overwhelmed because, you know, she was a pediatrician in a small town where there aren't very many doctors, as you know, as Lupe you could probably relate to. As well, very, very busy, and she knew that I wanted to come back to the community where I grew up. So that was what she kind of, you know, hinted at. And then I had also hearing from my brother all this stuff he was doing. So I started looking into it and saw how neat it was, and just kind of the diversity of it and how hands-on it was. So it was definitely something that appealed to me, especially wanting to do something in engineering and architecture. I mean, dentistry is very your engineers and architects of the mouth, essentially. So it was something very appealing. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up in dentistry. So it's probably around my junior year, I started looking into the pre-dental club. And that's kind of how my relationship with my now husband started as well, because that's where we met. Wow. And then at the whole time I was already a biology major, so I already kind of knew I wanted to go into the health aspect. So it kind of all just worked out, and finished my 4 years at Fresno State and started at University of the Pacific in San Francisco. So I didn't really have any breaks in between. Looking back on it now, I don't think I still would have done it any other way. It worked out for me. That was just the way I'm kind of wired. I just need to bam, 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 get through it.
Wow, that's really inspiring. And that's, you know, I love the fact that you said they're like architects of the mouth, and it's so true. So that's just perfect. You talked about, you know, how you came to dentistry. Now, what would you say that you did to prepare yourself to have a strong application package for professional school once you were at that point?
Well, for me, it kind of, I've always planned ahead. So same thing, you know, when I was in high school, I planned ahead to want to go into college. So I knew no matter what I wanted to do, obviously I was going to have good grades. So that was something that and then also being part of the honors college, Smith Family Honors College, we were expected to hold a certain GPA because we were going to be in that college, you know, you had to, because you were going to graduate with honors. So I had always kind of kept a close eye on my grades. Definitely struggled the first year, like most people struggled. Put a lot on my plate, and with doing cross country and track, I think at that point I had 24 units, and I was doing cross country and track. So I know that definitely took a toll on me, even physically and emotionally, because I was getting very little sleep. I'd have 5:30 a.m. practice runs, and then I'd have my school in between, and then I'd have a practice run at 2 or 2:30, and then I'd have more school, and then I'd have lab. So I wouldn't finish with school till 9. Then I had to go home, study homework, and be up by 5:30 in the morning. So for some time, it definitely took a toll. I know my grades were always pretty good, but definitely I know at the beginning I had some B's that could have been A's if I hadn't put so much on my plate. I finished pretty strongly after I decided I wanted to do dentistry. I actually didn't run my last year because I wanted to focus on that. I did the whole time I was doing a lot of volunteer work. That was something I've always been pretty passionate about, simply because of the background that I'm from. I know how much need there is. So I was part of Boys to Men, Girls to Women in Fresno. So I did that. I did a lot of like tutoring also, or being part of programs where we'd help children learn how to read. So it was something that I knew from the get-go. In any type of profession I wanted to go to, I had to have a strong application and well-rounded. So I know, and even now having been part of interview committees in dental school, I know what they look for, and they never look for someone with just good grades. So someone with well-rounded definitely shows a better a person that can contribute to society more, because you have to be able to relate to your patients. So if you have no activities, you have no hobbies, it's going to be really hard to connect with patients. So I know that was just something when I was preparing for college, it's like all of this is going to help me out to get into a good school as well. And not only that, it also helped me out to kind of keep myself grounded.
So let's actually go into that question, which is one of the ones I was going to be asking. What are you most passionate about, and why?
Now I would tell you my kids.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I have 2 boys. I have almost 4-year-old, so he'll be 4 next Saturday, and I have an almost 10-month-old, so 9.5, 10-month-old. So my boys are definitely they've taken over my life in a good way. Sometimes definitely it gets really overwhelmed, but right now anything that involves them is pretty much, you know, my passion. Growing up, or, you know, being in college, and a lot of the stuff that I definitely enjoy doing, running, community service or public service was always something I liked doing. Ever since ever since I can remember, and even in like grade school, elementary school, I would go back and I would help in kindergarten classes or first grade classes, just because I wanted to keep myself busy, and I like doing that. I'm like a people pleaser, so I liked helping people. I remember doing that, and then when I got into high school, all the clubs I was part of were usually some sort of community outreach, community help. We'd go to like convalescent homes to visit some of the elderly. When I was in college, like I was part of programs where we would help kids to learn how to read, mentorships, and then when I was at University of the Pacific at UOP, same thing. I was part of a community service program where we would actually help bring dentistry to underserved communities. So for me, it was public service, community service has always been something that I am passionate about, and I hope to one day when I can retire be able to provide some sort of continue to provide service.
I mean, it sounds like you're just you do so much, and it sounds like that's been a trend throughout your life. And so what do you see as your purpose in life?
That's a question. That's something we always try to figure out. I think haven't quite figured that out. Definitely for me, it's living in the moment, making the most of it. Planning ahead in the future is something that I used to do a lot of, and I'm trying to get away from, just because now everything's so unpredictable. And then for us, I think the stability and the happiness of our family and helping those around us is very important. Purpose is definitely to be, right now, be the best dentist I can be. Be very caring, compassionate, don't be overtaken, because it's very easy as a dentist to be kind of overtaken by the ability to do well. I mean, you can make very good money, and then you can let that kind of be your driving force. And for me, that wasn't something I wanted it to be. I've always heard, never let money be your driving force, let patient care be your driving force. Money will follow that, because karma, you do good to others, good things will happen to you. And for me, that's definitely a strong belief I have. So, be the best person I can be, the best profession I can be, the best mother I can be, and then just hope that the outcome, just like it was in the past where I studied really hard, the outcome will be good. I'm trying to keep a pretty optimistic look on life. I know sometimes there actually a lot of times there's been bumps on the roads, and it's hard to look beyond that. But I feel like if you kind of really get stuck on that, it's just going to take over your life.
Absolutely, and 100% agree. And so our last question for this segment is, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And then can you describe some of the actionable steps that you will take to get there? And again, this can be both professionally as well as personally.
In the next 5 to 10 years, I definitely hope to be a practice owner. So my husband and I are still trying to figure out, and I mean, we're both pretty young in our careers. I don't think I mentioned that. One of the reasons I wanted to go into dentistry is the ability to be your own boss. Because for me, even when we were in school and had to be doing group projects or whatnot, like I'm a very good team player, but I also like things done a certain way. So when someone tells me how to do something and I not necessarily agree, being a professional, it's really hard to not want to have that autonomy. And the only way you can really have an autonomy is being your own boss. So that's professionally, that's kind of where I see myself going. Having my own private practice, still with wanting to, offer some sort of dental care to underserved communities, whether it be working a day or two in the public sector. That would be something that I would definitely be open to and would like to do. Personally, I think more than anything, my husband and I, and this is going to be kind of a shocker for us, we've never had our relationship outside of school. So we've always, in 2 weeks, he'll be finishing dental school. So it's going to be a change for us. So definitely, focus on our family itself, not with exams and finals and all of that on top of us, kind of, because it definitely puts a weight on your shoulders. So we're going to try to grow as a family together. Of course, get our children involved. I'm going to be a soccer mom. I already know it. I'm already a soccer mom, which I'm completely open and excited about because I grew up playing soccer. Traveling, if time permits, or life permits more than anything, would be nice. But I think right now, just definitely focusing on getting our family nice and united and not having to worry about the stress of school. Will be a nice change.
Oh, yes. I know there's probably a lot of traveling up ahead, I'm sure. Make time for it. It's worth it. Great. Well, are there any last words of advice, any last words that you want to leave our members with? We have viewers that are that might be in high school all the way up to professional school. So are there any words of advice that you can share?
It's going to sound pretty cliche, but it's definitely something that I lived by, and it's a never dream. Don't think any dream is too big. Dreams are definitely achievable, and without a dream, it's really hard to get anywhere in life. And it's a dream, it's a goal, you can call it whatever you want, but definitely always dream big, and work hard. I think if you put the work into it, you're gonna get a good result. And don't beat yourself down if you ever get I've gotten Fs. It's happened, and it definitely crushed my world, and I felt like I could never get out of that. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Feels like that tunnel's really long sometimes, but definitely there's always a light, and there's your life will be so much better if you always challenge yourself. If you're always challenging yourself, I feel like personally, professionally, I think you'll always feel much better about yourself. Never settle for something less than what you want.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those last words. But we really want to thank you, Dr. Patty Torres Molina, for joining us this morning and taking time out of your busy schedule, as we heard with your baby in the background. So truly appreciate it. And for our members, thank you so much for listening to this Soul Talk here at Deep Talk. And for you guys, also remember to log into our deeptalk.org website. You can also find us on the social media at Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. And please share with your friends, family, and others who you think might really enjoy and listening to some of our Soul Talks. For now, my name is Lupe Govea, and until next time.